Chapter 7: Reset, Burnout, Depression, and Alzheimer. How developmental trauma shapes the stress system, identity, and long-term brain health. 1. Trauma doesn't stay in the psyche, it becomes biology. The reset model revealed that trauma is an identity freeze, created by a missing stability system, father field, and an overloaded safety system, mother field, resulting in a child's self-managing adult life. But trauma does not stay psychological. It becomes biological, influencing the HPA axis, cortisol secretion, immune function, neuroinflammation, microglial activation, amyloid clearance, hippocampal shrinkage, and energy metabolism. Reset directly targets the root pattern that drives these processes. This chapter explains how. 2. The stress cascade, how trauma becomes burnout and depression. When the internal father field is missing and the mother field is overwhelmed, the child's self becomes the regulator of the entire stress system. This has predictable neurobiological consequences. Let's map them clearly. 2.1 The trauma child identity causes constant stress activation. Because the trauma child lives in a state of hyper-responsibility, the nervous system remains in chronic sympathetic arousal, or dorsal vagal collapse, or oscillation between the two. This creates hypervigilance, overthinking, emotional overabsorption, fear of failure or rejection, chronic guilt, exhaustion. This is the root mechanism of burnout. Burnout is the nervous system saying, I cannot keep functioning as the trauma child anymore. 2.2 The missing stability system predicts burnout. Without the internal stabilizer, there is no inner boundary. No capacity to say no. No ability to regulate effort. No pacing. No energy conservation. No self-protection. So the client burns out not from workload, but from identity structure. Reset restores the stability system, the very mechanism that prevents burnout. 2.3 Depression as the collapse of the overloaded safety system. When the safety system, mother field, remains activated for decades, emotional exhaustion sets in. The system loses regulatory capacity. Hopelessness emerges. Dopamine and serotonin pathways downregulate. The nervous system enters shutdown mode. Depression is not sadness. It is the nervous system's final defense against overwhelm. Reset relieves the safety system by rebuilding stability, which removes the need for collapse. 3. Trauma and Alzheimer, the missing connection psychology has ignored. We previously developed a groundbreaking insight. Alzheimer equals long-term consequence of identity fragmentation plus chronic stress plus lipid depletion. Let's break down the scientific and theoretical logic. 3.1 Chronic trauma leads to chronic cortisol leads to hippocampal atrophy. The hippocampus is the brain region responsible for memory consolidation, spatial orientation, identity continuity, emotional context. It is extremely vulnerable to chronic cortisol exposure. When the trauma child identity is active for decades, cortisol remains elevated. Hippocampal neurons shrink. Memory recall falters. Emotional processing becomes impaired. This is the first stage of Alzheimer's vulnerability. 3.2 Trauma leads to increased microglial activation leading to neuroinflammation. Unprocessed emotional stress triggers chronic immune activation, inflammatory cytokine release, microglial overactivity. Microglia are the brain's janitors. If they stay activated too long, they begin clearing synapses, dendrites, neural circuits. This contributes directly to cognitive decline, memory loss, reduced neuroplasticity. Reset reduces the trauma-driven hyperactivation of microglia by resolving the identity structure that maintains chronic stress. 3.3 Trauma leads to emotional freeze leading to reduced brain lipids. We previously noted the ApoE-cholesterol connection. The brain is 60% fat. Healthy lipid metabolism is critical for synaptic repair, myelin production, neural longevity, stress resilience, When trauma creates emotional freeze, energy metabolism shifts. Lipid use decreases. Myelin production slows. Neurons become more vulnerable to degenerative processes. This makes statin overuse potentially harmful, especially in trauma populations. Reset restores emotional fluidity, which restores metabolic fluidity, which supports lipid availability. 3.4 Unresolved trauma leads to predictive processing collapse. New research shows that Alzheimer's involves collapse of higher-order predictive processing. Trauma fuses the brain into low-level survival prediction loops, threat detection, abandonment scanning, hypervigilance, negative expectation. If this becomes identity, the brain loses flexibility. Reset ends these childhood prediction loops and restores adult predictive processing. 4. ADHD and autism level 1, Asperger type, as trauma response expressions. This is a sensitive but scientifically plausible hypothesis. ADHD-like symptoms emerge when the stability system never formed, leading to inconsistent inhibition, impulsivity, attention fragmentation. Autism level 1, Asperger traits emerge when the safety system stayed in overwhelm, leading to sensory overload, emotional detachment, cognitive rigidity. Reset addresses these systems at their root. We will develop this more in the next dedicated chapter. 5. Reset as neuroprotective architecture. Reset reduces chronic cortisol, restores ventral vagal tone, normalizes limbic activity, increases prefrontal limbic integration, recalibrates the HPA axis, reduces neuroinflammation, restores lipid-related emotional functioning, improves glucose metabolism indirectly, stabilizes identity, enhances cognitive resilience. These are all protective factors against burnout, depression, trauma reactivation, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease. Reset is not only psychological therapy, it is preventative neurology. 6. A unified theory: trauma leads to stress, identity leads to system collapse. Here is the fully integrated pathway, linking them all. 1. Missing stability system, father field, leading to chronic unpredictability, leading to hypervigilance. 2. Overloaded safety system, mother field, leading to emotional exhaustion, leading to dysregulation. 3. Trauma child identity, leading to lifelong survival mode, leading to overactivation of stress system. 4. Chronic stress, leading to chronic cortisol, leading to hippocampal atrophy, leading to neuroinflammation, leading to lipid depletion. 5. Long-term consequences, leading to burnout, leading to depression, leading to cognitive decline, leading to Alzheimer vulnerability. Reset interrupts this cascade at the root by restoring stability, relieving emotional overload, releasing the trauma child, re-establishing adult identity. 7. Why reset is a protective factor against neurodegenerative decline. Reset practitioners will be able to explain to clients why their emotional history matters, how stress becomes biology, how identity becomes neurology, and how resolving trauma is not emotional luxury, but brain preservation. Reset reduces the load on the stress axis, the immune system, the limbic system, the cognitive network. Reset is the first trauma model that naturally extends into neuroprotection theory. 8. Conclusion: the brain heals when the child stops running it. Trauma is not the past. It is a child's self running the brain's stress systems for decades. Reset restores internal stability, emotional safety, adult identity, neurological balance. And by doing so, it prevents burnout, depression, identity collapse, neurocognitive decline. Reset is not just psychological transformation, it is long-term neurological prevention and repair. Ready, reset, go.